Hey guys, this is Tom from Numbers Game Lifestyle, and today we're going to be talking about a case study in which a guy seemingly gets cheated on by his perfect girlfriend out of nowhere. No signs, just out of the blue. She just, sleeps with another guy when the relationship was absolutely perfect. There was no problems. He was handling it absolutely perfectly. But for some reason, these nasty women, they just cheat on you out of nowhere. Okay, so let's have a look at this guy's story and let's pick out the signs that everybody else can see, but he couldn't see. This is what happens when a lot of guys are emotionally attached, overly attached in a relationship. They miss all the red flags that are pointing exactly where, things are going to go haywire. You know, Warning bells are going off. This is not a good idea. Don't do this. But no, they just ignore them. Guys in these relationships, they see the red flags and they just kind of rationalize them away like, oh, that's not a big deal with this woman. Like, no big deal. And it's a lot of the same thing. Like, when I hear these stories about women leaving a man out of nowhere, cheating on a man out of nowhere, I know these guys are completely clueless. That's like the same way like dog owners are like, one day the dog was absolutely perfect his entire lifetime, but one day he just snapped and he attacked me. He started ripping my face off. Maybe he attacked my neighbor and he just, out of the blue, he just attacked my neighbor and started ripping his face off. Like, you can't trust these animals. These animals are crazy. You don't know what they're capable of. 1 minute they're perfectly fine. The next minute, they're tearing off your face. And it's like, it just goes to show how clueless people are. And like, they don't pay attention to what's going on around them, to the people that they live with. Like, here's the thing. Dogs, girlfriends, wives, these should not be unpredictable entities in your life. They should be very predictable. You should know what they're going to do before they even do it. Because you've seen them do the same actions over and over again. You pay attention. I've never been taken advantage of by a woman, a girlfriend, a best friend, a family member. No one has ever screwed me over. Because people are predictable. They're predictably good. Okay, you notice all the signs and you're like, yes, these people are trustworthy and they don't screw you over. The people that are going to screw you over are the ones you barely know. You don't know like what they're capable of. These people have the potential to screw you over because you don't know anything about them. But when a girlfriend screws you over, a wife screws you over, that is on you. That is a person that you should know better than they know themselves. You know what they're going to do before they even do it because you've spent that much time with them. You know exactly what they're capable of. So whenever I hear these guys bitch and moan about like, she cheated on me out of nowhere, I'm like, okay, we're going to find out if that's really the case. Okay, let's have a look at this guy's story and see if you can spot the red flags that are pointing to, trouble down the road. Okay, this is what he says. I got cheated on out of nowhere. Since January of this year, I have been dating a beautiful, seemingly wonderful girl. This girl seems as good as I could possibly find for a long-term relationship and a potential eventual mother. Okay, talk about jumping to conclusions. Okay, we're going to see this play out. Did she feel the same way? I don't think so. From India, this is what this girl is. He's going to list all the stats about what makes this girl so fantastic. The perfect mother, the perfect wife. From India, and a traditional healthy family with mom and dad still together and a great relationship with their parents. Again, that really doesn't mean anything of how well she's going to be with you. Came to America 4 years ago to get her master's degree and has a very high-paying software job. Again, what does it matter? You're the guy you're going to be providing most likely in this, hypothetical getting married thing. Didn't know what sex was even until age 22 and was a virgin until she met me. I still believe I still believe this even in light of what happened. Again, it really doesn't matter. Like, oh, I've got to marry a virgin, then she'll never leave me. Got news for you. Virgins will leave guys all the time in marriages or, in relationships. Okay? If the guy doesn't know what he's doing, he is destined to fail. Is both a fantastic cook and loves to cook for me. Again, great, whatever. Despite being a software engineer, she's super artistic and creative. Again, this is all like paper stuff. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of how she interacts with you. Is extremely beautiful. She looks like she has makeup on while wearing literally nothing. She has huge eyes, big lips, and a wonderful sculpted face. Despite being 5'2", she has, big boobs. Her ass could be bigger, but it's still very perky. Okay. Is in good shape and hates sweets. Has never drank alcohol or done drugs. Extremely feminine. Loves babies and children. Was and is seemingly crazy about me. This is where we're gonna see where the rubber meets the road, and like how he describes what's going on in his relationship. Okay, and if that's really the case. Then we have me. I'm very much a catch, even without all the material I have learned from this site. Again, this guy is fairly experienced with women. He's been getting laid. I don't know how experienced he is with actual relationships though, because it's one thing getting laid. It's a completely different skill set to retaining women and having women absolutely crazy about you until the day they die. Okay. It's about chasing. It's about letting women chase you and not being the one that chases women. Okay, you invest less than the women that you're in a relationship with, and they will chase you to get more investment from you. Okay, I'm tall, handsome, very smart, athletic, not always the most likable, but very charismatic nonetheless, and have a lot of passions. I'm also quite experienced with both pickup and relationships. I don't know about relationships, okay? Because there's a lot of mistakes being made that you completely overlooked. Okay, we're going to get into those. I fundamentally understand anyone is capable of cheating depending on their personality type, how much temptation they expose themselves to and are allowed to be exposed to by their partner, and how much their needs are currently being met in their relationship. No, it's pretty much all dependent on the guy, how well you are at getting women to invest in you. Because if a woman is fully invested in you, she's not cheating, she's not leaving. All she thinks about is you 24/7, 365 days a year. Okay, they become obsessed. That is when you have a really good handle on relationships. You know how women work. You know how to captain the ship. Okay, that is the most important part of this whole maintaining relationships. Are you a good captain? All this said, I thought my choice in girl and how much I was meeting her needs were about as good as they could get. You can see the blinders on this, okay? It's coming up. We've probably had sex 600 times this year. Really good sex, too. I give her tons of quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, and a decent amount of acts of service and gifts. And she is more invested in the relationship than I. Okay, that's debatable. Always wanting to be with me, always doting on me, always so happy to receive my touch, buying me tons of gifts, cooking for me multiple times per week, and paying for meals when we go out, going all out on my birthday recently. She has probably spent thousands more on me than I have spent on her. The amount of money she spends on you really doesn't have that much of a big deal on how much she's actually invested in you. From the sounds of it, later on, you find out this guy isn't making a lot of money. So obviously, if she's making a lot of money and this guy's strapped for cash, if she wants to go out, she's going to pay for it. All this means nothing. It's how hungry is she to see you? How about her touching you? How about her initiating intimacy with you? How long does that happen? When does that happen? How often? When does she want to know where you are? What are you up to? Again, you live with this woman. We're going to find that out. That's a big problem. So a lot of the mystery is gone in this whole relationship. Here we go. There were some concerns I had with her, though. In India, she had a pseudo boyfriend she was in love with, Guy A. I say pseudo because in India, everything is very traditional, and she had to keep this guy secret from her family since they were from different castes. When she came to America, they tried long distance, but a guy from her new group, Guy B, fell in love with her. And while she was still in love with Guy A, she started stringing Guy B along without Guy A's knowledge. Her Indian family was pressuring her to get married, and in December 2023, she finally told Guy A she wasn't going back to India and he should stop waiting for her, and decided to marry Guy B because they got along great and he loves her very much, even though she was never in love with him. Okay, there's massive red flags here, okay? In Indian culture, as a guy that, has Indian girlfriends before, there's heavy pressure, to abide by who they choose for you to marry, okay? And guess what? It's usually not a white guy, okay? If she's fresh off the boat, they're going to want to marry you off to another Indian guy of the same caste. That's news to you, it seems. Okay, but you're going to find out really quick here from her friends and family that, yeah, that's what's expected of her. So don't get your hopes up, white guy. As fate would have it, this is when she met me. She needed a roommate to replace her female roommate who was leaving. I needed a temporary place to stay. It was originally only going to be 45 days, after which she would move in with Guy B, and I would have to find somewhere more permanent. Well, once I had moved in, we immediately hit off, staying up till 1 a.m. talking. The next day I was going to give her space, but she made me coffee and food, and we talked some more. Then later when I came home from work, she came out of her room to talk to me some more. She was looking so good, and our rapport was already strong, so I took a risk and brought her into my room to watch a movie. I gave her space and only tried once to put my arm around her, which she rebuffed. After the movie, she started talking and started playing Thumb Wars and the Mercy game with our hands, and I spontaneously kissed her. She got extremely flustered, and after a bunch of more spontaneous kisses, we started hooking up. We didn't have sex, okay? This is one thing that's guys kind of messed up. Hooking up is intimacy. It is putting D in V, okay? I don't know what you think hooking up is. At one point, she started crying. She told me a little about Guy A and how she recently ended things with him. She didn't tell me about Guy B. Ultimately, we kept hooking up without having sex, and the next day I was fully prepared to give her space, but I think she's still hot. But I think things were still hot. So again, are you getting with this chick? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you're just like making out, like high school things. But again, look at all this drama that's happening. There's like 3 guys in the picture at this point. And what kind of woman, massive red flag here, is looking for a guy roommate? It's like, okay, guy roommate, no problem here, even though she's like already like thinking about marrying these other guys. Like, what is going on? Most women will prefer a woman roommate. Okay, a guy roommate in her house is just going to make things awkward for most women. So yeah, this is a little bit of a red flag, coupled with the fact that she's already got multiple guys in the picture, that she's playing around with. Like, I may marry this guy, I may marry that guy, like I might want to marry this guy, I might want to marry the other guy. Come on, man. It's like there's going to be, plenty of drama in your future. We kept on hooking up every day and night, getting closer and closer to sex. Okay, so obviously they're not hooking up. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe they're holding hands and that's what he thinks hooking up is. But she was very nervous about it. After 7 days of this and spending a lot of time together, she told me she loves me. I didn't immediately say it back and was a little bit concerned how fast she told me this, but I knew the potential was there and I chalked it up as her being a virgin. I also got ghosted by another girl who told me she loved me after I didn't say it back. I decided to tell her that I loved her too, even if it wasn't true yet, to help facilitate intimacy happening, which I knew would be good for our relationship. I told her and we soon had intimacy. It was very tight and painful for her at first, so our sessions were very short, but within 1 or 2 weeks we were having constant proper intimacy. I eventually found out about Guy B. I couldn't decide if this made her a cheater. She wasn't in love with him and was planning to marry him largely to satisfy her wishes of her family. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, get this into your head, dude. It's not about love. It's about satisfying the wishes of her family. Okay, keep that in mind. Doesn't matter how big of a pimp you are. You know, she's looking for a guy that's going to fit in, that family approves. Okay. She didn't tell me about us. No, she didn't tell him about us and was conflicted about marrying him. She texted him a lot and would go out to lunch or dinner with him, but always came right back to her house, but always came right back to home to have sex with me. We started going on proper dates too. Guy B eventually figured it out and was going on and went through her phone and had a breakdown in her bedroom. Wheeling like a little wimp for over an hour. She cried with him too, and he later tried confronting me and begging me to tell her to move on. I politely but firmly told him that wasn't going to happen, and I will let her decide if she wants to be with me or him. He refused to give up, and there was an awkward 2 weeks where she would keep having lunch with him, and then she would come home and have a ton of sex with me, and he was well aware of it. He guilted her into letting him eat her out for the first and only time, which she told me about right after it happened. She still had all this pressure to move in with him and marry him, as she had already told her parents about it. But every time she said she was about to move out, I would come home, find her still there, since she couldn't bear to leave me. Finally, I insinuated I would be her boyfriend if she chose me, and I also prepared to myself to move on if she didn't. Seeing me ready to walk away, coupled with the security of having me as an exclusive boyfriend, was the last straw, and she officially broke things off with Guy B. Wow, like, look at all this massive drama for no reason. I mean, in this situation, I'd just be like, look, like, I'm gonna move out of this. Once you get things sorted out, like, hit me up then. Until then, like, I'm gonna get out of here. It's like, people just have a super high threshold for drama and complete BS. Anyways, this was all pretty messy, and while I didn't like the act, she kept him in the dark and kept stringing him along and had sexual contact with him once. I chalked it up to the pressure of being Indian and inexperienced and with a guy she wasn't in love with. Again, he's making excuses for this, like, oh, like, it's no big deal, it won't happen to me. Okay, we're gonna find out. So we kept living together and had blissful few months. She kept texting Guy B. This guy had no self-respect, which I did not like but tolerated because I knew she was terrified of dating an American who in her mind might leave her at any moment, which was compounded by how open I was with her about how many girls I dated and slept with. Any number above 2, in most Indians, I'm way above 2. Any number above 2 is high for most Indians, I'm way above 2. I thought I'd let her keep Guy B in the back pocket, gradually fade him out as she learned to trust me, and honestly, so she would have someone in case I did move on from her. Okay, you're trying to play it cool at this point. Maybe you are in control of your emotions at this point, because it sounds like, yeah, you can take it or leave it. You're ready to, like, leave at any point. And I think you're still emotionally in control of yourself. You're thinking logically, okay? But that changes over time as scarcity creeps into your life and you start to become more emotional and she starts to become less emotional. Let's have a look. You might be thinking things eventually went bad, and in a moment of weakness, she went back to Guy B. Surprisingly, it was something else that happened. My now girlfriend decided to return to India for about a month for the first time since leaving. Massive red flag. Okay, here's what I think happened. I think she got in contact with mom, and mom said, look, like, when are you getting married? I thought you were going to marry this guy, like this Indian guy. And she's like, oh, like, that's not happening, but let me go back to India and see who I can find, see if I can, like, you know, rekindle things and see who's there that, you know, that'll fit and I can marry. Okay, that was the plan between her mom and your girlfriend. She probably called her up, said, like, when are you getting married? I thought you were marrying this guy. What's the big deal? And obviously, she can't go dating around a bunch of Indian guys while living with you. So the only other option is to go back to India and find an Indian guy there. And that is exactly what happens. While girlfriends taking trips without their boyfriends is something Chase advocates against allowing, I decided to not make a fuss about it since we were so in love and she was the last person I thought would cheat, and Indians aren't that promiscuous. Okay, dude, realize that as a white guy, you aren't in marriage contention, okay? Sorry, you are not family approved for someone that's fresh off the boat. You know, if it was a Indian family that was born and raised in the West, you would probably have a good shot. They wouldn't care whether you were white, whether you were Indian. But because they're fresh off the boat, it's going to matter a lot. And it's going to see that with her sister. You're going to see that with her mom. It's like, no, dude, like you don't have a choice. You don't have a prayer of marrying this chick. She's marrying an Indian guy. Get that through your head. Which is why she's taking the trip to India. She's taking a trip to find an Indian guy, okay? Because that's what's going to be family approved. This has nothing to do with, oh, like how good a pimp you are, how good your relationship is. It's about pleasing the family, okay? It's about marrying a guy that mom will approve of. I also didn't want to deprive her of the chance to see her family and old friends, as this is difficult when they lived on the other side of the globe. I was a little worried, as her being gone this long, when we had only been together a few months, could cause problems. I have abundance with women, and I knew I could be fine if anything happened. Okay, we're going to put that to the test, okay? How strong is your abundance? Let's find out. This woman is going to test that abundance. It was during this trip that she had sex with not Guy A, as a rational person might have guessed, but Guy C. Guy C was a childhood friend who had always had a crush on her. She entertained him during the first 2 years of her bachelor's before eventually falling for Guy A, and Guy C suffered in silence. Well, on her trip back, she briefly saw Guy A, which pissed me off when I found out, but spent most of her time hanging out with 2 girlfriends and their 2 boyfriends and Guy C. Okay, so here's what happened. She went back to India and she hit up the Guy A and was like, nah, like, not really marriage quality at this point. Let's try out Guy C. And Guy C was a better fit. You know, maybe he was more attractive. Maybe he had more wealth, because, you know, that's what most important thing is for a marriage, especially in these relationships. So yeah, he probably had like more potential for wealth. And yeah, she was dating around to find the right fit. They toured a few cities and went to Goa. She did not tell me much about this. She did not tell me much of this and I didn't ask because I trusted her. She and Guy C got close during all this time, and she eventually told her sister, who lives in California and had already met me and liked me, she was thinking about moving back to India and marrying Guy C. Exactly. That's been the plan since day one, dude. Like, get it through your head. You were never in marriage contention. They were holding hands in public, a big deal in India, and shared a bed at least once. When she came clean, she told me they only had sex once, and she didn't like it. I leaned towards believing her, but who knows? Honestly, who cares? Whether she enjoyed it or not. But like, yeah, the sister knows that she's only going to be marrying an Indian guy. And she's trying to break it to you slowly because it seems like you're highly invested in marrying her. She finally came back home. Things were a little off. Yeah, I would imagine. And I attribute this to her shy nature and how long she'd been apart and how long we had been apart. And we had lots of sex that night and things went back to how they were. We eventually moved to a new, better place and signed a 15-month lease. She never told me about her escapades in India. I finally saw pictures that she had taken of the 3 girls and the 3 guys all together, and we had our first big fight. Oh, what's the matter, dude? I thought you had abundance. I thought you were like fine if stuff happened. You know, you didn't bother you. You were ready to move on if things went down. Well, let's find out. But she was swearing nothing happened. They were all just friends. I believed her, especially since she had taken no trouble to hide the pictures. And things were good again. Grew closer than ever before, and I introduced her to my family and started integrating her with our events. I also began planning to marry her. Yeah, exactly. You planned to marry her. She did not plan on marrying you. You were never in the running. Like, this is like classic. Like, oh, I'm not more invested. She's more invested in me. I don't think so, dude. While I don't love marriage, I very much want children someday, and I knew this would be something that she would need from me, and I was happy to give it to her. Not from you, dude. This would also give her a green card, so this was a big benefit I considered worth it. Again, dude, like, this is you talking about marrying her, not her talking about marrying you. We talked long term since the beginning, so she always knew I was at least somewhat open to a future with her, and I progressively gave her more progress throughout our relationship. She had no excuse to get with Guy C. Of course she did. She's looking for a guy that's family approved. You are not family approved, and you will never be family approved, okay? Fresh off the boat. Indian girlfriends I have in my life have looked at this, and they're like, yeah, she was never going to marry this white guy. Not in a million years. And we're going to find out her sister believes the same thing. Her mom believes the same thing. She believes the same thing. The only one that was out of the loop was you. Hate to say it. Her sister became worried when my girlfriend told her she wanted to introduce me to her parents. They are super conservative, so if they introduced me and then something went wrong, like me finding out about Guy C, or Guy C finding out about me, it would be a huge scandal. Until now, her sister believed my girlfriend had only thought about getting with Guy C, but never acted on it. Her sister called all of her friends and her cousins and pieced together everything about my girlfriend and Guy C holding hands and sharing a bed. She also found out Guy C was apparently waiting for my girlfriend to move back to India so they could get married, and they could kept texting all this time. And that he had even bought her a car. So her sister and husband flew to my city and texted me about meeting, where they told me everything they knew. I went back home and confronted my girlfriend and asked if she had sex with Guy C. She admitted which she admitted to. She also admitted to staying in contact with him all this time. Yeah, like, her sister knows damn well that she's going to marry a brown guy. She's going to marry an Indian guy. Mom knows. You know, your girlfriend probably knows. You're never going to be, like, family approved, okay? And luckily, her sister kind of, like, took pity on you, liked you, and wanted to, like, save you the heartbreak, being like, this is what happened. Like, she kind of, let's end this before you get even more attached. I'm just mind boggled. Why in the mother effing hell would this girl have been who has been otherwise so good to me and who seems so in love with me, throw it all away over some guy she isn't even in love with when she knew him growing up? She isn't in love with when she knew him growing up. Dude, this is about family, okay? This is about pleasing the family and maintaining those, like, family approved marriage things, okay? It's hard to, like, grasp because, like, us in the West really don't have this, like, family pressure. You're gonna marry this woman, you're gonna marry this race. They do. The ones fresh off the boat, you know, they're gonna marry their kind. Okay, that's what's expected. And she's not about to, like, you know, throw that all away, that family pressure, be like, no, I'm going to marry a white guy. Screw you, mom. Screw you, dad. You know, that's not going to happen. I've been such a good, strong boyfriend to her, and she seemed madly in love with me all this time. Not to mention this Guy C is an oafish looking nice guy without any guile. Again, it's not even about you, dude. It's about your race and where you grew up, you know, your whole background. That's what's holding you back in this whole, you know, your future. Okay, well, the future of this woman isn't going to happen because, hate to say it, you were born in the wrong country, wrong skin color. I had fallen so in love with her in a world where Western women are becoming increasingly less suited for long-term relationships. I thought I had this I thought I had hit the absolute jackpot and done everything right. I was the baddest, sexiest guy she had ever met, who conquered her and stole her right from under Guy B's nose and spent the next 10 months ravishing her in mind and body. How could she have been this stupid? How could I have attached myself to someone so deficient? How could such an otherwise incredible girl with everything going on for her be so screwed up in the head? She was never screwed up in the head, dude. She was just way more, rational and calculating than you were. You were like highly emotional. Look at how emotional you are at this point. Does this seem like a stone cold pimp to you? It'd be like a stone cold pimp would be laugh. He'd be like, "Huh, I didn't see this coming. Well, it was nice knowing you. I'm gonna take off now. Good luck with Guy C. Have a great life. I'm out of here." Okay. Instead, you throw this tantrum about like how women are so evil, how this woman was incredible, and how she ruined your life, and how devastating this is. It's like, dude, like the writing was on the wall. You were never in this marriage contention. She was always gonna marry an Indian guy. This is a walking nightmare. I feel like what remaining innocence I had so carefully protected had been fucking obliterated. I don't know if I could ever reach the intimacy I thought I shared with her and with anyone else. Dude, you shared too much. You can't care so much, okay? That is what's screwing you over. An icy pimp doesn't care so much about the women in his life. I hate to say it, but the guys that women absolutely go crazy for are the ones that don't even care very much, okay? It's a very black pill thing to say, but you can't care so much. You can't cling so tightly. You hold on loosely, okay? And you said, like, I wouldn't care, wouldn't bother me. I've got so much abundance. Look at you now. Look at how, like, emotional you are. You're like a woman. There's no abundance there. That's scarcity. That's like, oh man, what am I gonna do? She was perfect for me. What went wrong? No, instead, you're not even saying what went wrong. You're not even like blaming yourself. You're trying to blame her for everything. When it's you encounter these problems. This is your problem. Should not have been a surprise. This should have been predictable. The writing was on the wall multiple times. You just chose to ignore it. My inner darkness and cynicism has effing won. Even if monogamy is possible for a minority of people, Caleb Jones was right. Indefinite pair bonding is not natural, and given enough time, there will be unhappiness, cheating, breakups, blah, blah, blah. Monogamy is an effing lie for people like me and the people I keep finding myself most attracted to. Just like religion is an effing lie. Democracy being good is an effing lie. Capitalism being evil is an effing lie. And us mattering in this cold, empty, dead, cruel universe is an effing lie. Look at how emotional this is. Look at me, I'm such a victim. Dude, take ownership. Stop being a victim. Like, so unfair, so screwed. Like, does this sound like abundance to you? It's the like definition of scarcity, of like, oh, the one and only. Never saw it coming. These women are so evil. Come on, dude, take ownership. I hit up a girl I briefly talked to at a recent concert and I already have a date scheduled for tomorrow night. We had a long, fun, fairly steamy chat over FT. I don't know, that my girlfriend may or may not have heard. She was crying in the other room. I felt sociopathic vibing with this other girl when internally I'm dead inside. My cold calculated rationality trumps over my idealistic, much better feeling, though prone to betray me emotions yet again. I hope someone can help me. I feel so helpless that no matter what I do, things are always doomed to implode. And I can either use girls and feel like a piece of, crap, or be used by girls and suffer. Anyways, so there you have it. Okay, did she really cheat on him out of nowhere? No, she was just way more calculating, way less emotional. She knew what she had to do. She had to find a brown guy to marry. Okay, that's been the ultimate plan since day one. Okay, mom and dad have come up with a plan for her, and that is to marry a brown guy of the same caste. Okay, and you are never part of the plan. As much as you want to like convince yourself that you are, oh, you know, if I'm good enough, you know, it won't matter. She'll say no to her parents, and she'll want to marry the white guy. It's like, no. Her sister knew this. Her mom knew this. Everybody knew this except you. The writing was on the wall. And then to be like, so like to claim that you have abundance, at some point, your emotions like took the driver's seat. Okay, your rational self took the back seat, and your emotional self took the driver's seat. Okay, and you started carrying way too much. This is exactly what it gets you. You know, you're all bent out of shape about this when you should have seen this coming a long ago. This is equivalent to having a dog, okay? And they're like, oh man, this dog was the nicest thing in the world. Then all of a sudden, one day, it just attacked my neighbor and bit off his face. Guess what? Completely BS. Dogs will always give you warning about, you know, who they think is the top dog, okay? For instance, let's say you have a dog and you think he's the nicest dog in the world, and you go and try to take his food away while he's eating. And what does he do? Does he growl at you? Does he snap at you? Does he try to attack you? Then you know damn well that this dog thinks he outranks you. He thinks he's the boss, and he's fit to defend himself. He's fit to tear your face off if you get in his way. You know, take his food or, you know, mess with his life. Okay. On the other hand, if you take another dog, you've trained him well, you can get a little toddler to take his food away while he's eating, and the dog won't do anything. He'll just look at the kid and be like, oh, like, is he going to give it back? I hope he gives it back. He does nothing. Okay. You know this dog cannot be pushed. He will never be pushed to attack another person because he is that much. He knows he's not the boss. He knows he's not the alpha dog that can, you know, exert his will onto other humans. Okay, this is telltale signs of like easy, completely easy ways to see, you know, what your dog is capable of. And it works the same way with the women and the people in your life as well. If you've lived with them, if you've spent a lot of time with them, you know, you should know what they're capable of. You know, are they capable of screwing you over? You know, completely lying to you and stabbing you in the back? Or is it like something like, I've exposed my back a million times and they never stab me in the back. I don't have to worry about them. Okay? This is how this works. People in your life that are very close to you, whether it be your wife, whether it be your girlfriend, you should know them better than they know themselves. You should be able to tell them, you should be able to see what they're capable of. But you just decided to just ignore all the red flags. You could see the dog growling when you tried to take his food away, and you're like, oh, but that's only when I take his food away. Like, I can see why he'd be mad, okay? I just won't do that. You try to rationalize it, okay? Instead of correcting it, be like, hey, you're not doing that anymore. I'm taking your food away, and you're going to allow me to do it because I'm the top dog, and you're the bottom dog. All the signs were there. You just chose to ignore them. Same way like dog owners do. They see a dog growling when you take his food away, and they try to make excuses for him. Like, oh, that's just the way he is. He's just really protective about his food. It's like, no, that is a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe that, eventually he's going to tear someone's face off. Okay? You got to nip that stuff in the bud. So it immediately, cut that stuff out. You're not the top dog here. I'm the top dog. I can take your food whenever I want. And my little niece can take the food whenever she wants. A little baby can take his food whenever he wants. And it's nothing you can do about it. You're just going to have to deal with that. All the signs were there for this girl. She was looking for Indian guys to marry. Because that is what that is what the entire family expects of her. And she's not going to go against that regardless of how amazing you are. Okay, so get that out of your head. There is plenty of amazing women out there. You just need more abundance to find them. And stop clinging so hard, okay? I can tell you're emotional about this. Whole world's turning upside down and all this nonsense. It's like, no, dude, like you should have seen this coming. And when it did happen, she'd be like, okay, I'm out of here. Good luck with this guy. I wish you a, healthy and happy marriage. And I'm out of here. I can go find new women that are even better than you. Okay, that is exactly how abundance works. Anyways, guys, if you need help doing this, getting into relationships with absolutely zero fear of women cheating on you, women leaving you, okay, that is what abundance gets you. Complete calmness. Nothing bothers you. And because you have that abundance, women never leave you, never want to leave you. They just become absolutely obsessed with you, wanting more of your time, more of your attention, more of your sex, because you could not care less whether they're in your life or not in your life. It's a kind of a black pill to swallow that the less you care, the more they care about you. It's weird. Anyways, guys, that's the video. If you need help doing this, there's coaching links down below. All right, guys, thanks for watching.